Hey guys, this is Danny, also known as iAnnihilate, and in this game, I'm gonna go over. I played pretty well on Puck, and I think it showcases a lot of the hero strengths this patch, and kind of the build order, what to do in the mid game, how to play with travels, all that good stuff. Was a pretty straightforward, easy game, but I think there's a lot of stuff to go over. You saw the ranks on the screen a minute ago. It wasn't the highest ranked game, but I think our heroes aren't the greatest, and they can just show how to kind of solo carry a game on Puck for the most part. I think the Razor played pretty well too, but definitely
Your
popped off
turn
this
to
game.
ban.
So, starting items, pretty much every mid hero this patch. Bottle rushes.
Prepare
Some
for
people
battle.
get a circlet instead of the third branch, some get a mantle in some matchups. I just pretty much always go these items to get my bottle faster. Puck's got really weak base stats, like 1 armor, 50 damage. And like there's like an 8 damage window, like 48 to 56. So like if you low roll, it's like even worse. You tend to just use a lot of your mana to get your CS and to harass. Very, very, very weak laner. Against a melee hero like Pango, it's not so bad, but he also has like 2 spells to cast to
30
take
seconds
CS.
to battle.
And because I have 1 armor, it's not the easiest to dodge the Pango Q. If he lands enough Pango Qs on me from like level 4 or 5 onwards when they put 2 points, 3 points in it, it can get kind of rough. I for some reason was missing my phase shifts on the W from Pango 2, which is not normal. For the most part, you should be, like, in a perfect world in this matchup, and in most matchups, like even Void Spirit,
Battle begins.
it's a lot easier for you to land your spells, or like Puck versus Storm, same thing. They have better base stats than you, like armor, HP, damage. So like in a pure 1v1 fight, you're not gonna like always come out on top. But like, you know, take a Storm, he can't really walk up and Q you. He has to like stun you into it, and you have silence, you have phase shift. And your orb is super long range and easy to land for the most part. So you're trying to like hit them with your spells even though you're weak, and the harass builds up over time. And I'll rewind really quickly so we can talk about the first wave too, but for the most part, like most matches, even Void Spirit, if they land their spells back on you, you're either gonna start going even instead of being a little ahead, or at worst, like it could start going really bad for you. So Puck's goal is to get denied as little as possible and to use a lot of your mana to CS while doing damage to them. In a lot of matchups like Puck Storm, Puck Lina, even Puck Pango, if you can get your 6 first, even though your base stats or whatever aren't very good, whether it's like farming the small camp at level 5 onwards with Orb, having it stacked, just not getting denied, using a lot of spells for last hits and sneaking some denies in, you're going to do very well in a lot of your lanes, and Puck is the easiest hero to gank middle for, because you can just coil someone, they're stuck there for 6 seconds, or they can break it and get stunned for 2 seconds, then you can chain into the silence. If they're ever in the river, just coil plus a TP or someone smoking to mid, it's just mostly a free kill. Especially like if you hit 6 first versus a Storm, which a lot of the time should happen because like I said earlier, you're gonna hit Storm with a lot of orbs. Void Spirit can be a little tricky just because his base damage is so good, like all his base stats are so good, and he has like the little stun to try and get denies on you with. And you're only really gonna get into trouble on this hero if you get behind an XP. And you kind of have to play around that when that happens. So we'll see how this lane goes. Um, Most matchups like this, I'd say you want the wave pushing so that you don't get into, like, it makes it a little easier to harass. So I might get denied there. And that's kind of what I was talking about, where, like, I might have low rolled or high rolled on that creep. I'm not sure. It's just a mistake, but you can get denied pretty easily if you don't have your spells up. So I used Q for the first one. And the benefit of using your spells like that and pushing the wave early is he doesn't really get to do anything to me. Like, he got the deny, sure, but look how much HP he loses. And they can't really fight you back when you have more creeps. It's kind of the only thing Puck is going for him. Storm does that a lot too in matchups where they spam a lot of mana level 1 to CS, because once the wave is pushing, it's really hard for them to trade right clicks with you. Especially, like, even like Storm Leshrac, it sucks if you ever get stunned and they have more creeps than you, because like you're just getting harassed a lot. But if you have the wave pushing onto them and they stun you, it's not so bad. When they hit you, they're tanking 4 creeps, and you can maybe hit them back to trade. And that's kind of the idea. Other things to keep in mind is you're just playing a ranged hero versus a melee hero most of the time. Even like the Storm matchup, he's kind of melee because he has to walk up to Q. So just hitting them a lot, not tanking too many creeps is kind of what you're going for. Rush your bottle. I probably could have used a bit more mana in this lane since the 2-minute rune is coming up and I have almost full mana. So manage your resources with the 2-minute rune. Can be orbing pretty much off cooldown for the most part. And the damage does build up. Like, look how low Pango's getting already just from right clicks and some orbs. Probably get one more orb off before I walk to the water rune. And yeah, like, I should have probably phase shifted that W. I'm not sure why. Feels a little laggy when I've been streaming lately, but I don't think that's it. I'm getting a stick against Pango. Most of the time, I don't upgrade the full wand, I just get stick on the hero. You're kind of looking to build 2 nulls, brown boots, witchblade, and then once your witchblade is done, you need a blink, and you get kind of slot starved. Especially since you're going to be getting travels next. It kind of is like your inventory is going to be blink, 2 nulls, witchblade, bottle, boots, right? So there's not much room for the full wand. A lot of players I've noticed still finish the full wand and then just sell it later, but I used to even just sell a null talisman, but now that they upgrade at 25 minutes, it's kind of not worth it. And I'd say this lane, it's going okay. It could go better, it could go worse. This is kind of what you're looking for in Puck. You're not looking to crush your lane a lot of the time. You're just looking to go somewhat even. Not take too much damage. And there's some bad play for me there, honestly. I got hit by too many spells. And just get your core items. At 6, we'll have a lot more options available to us as well. So just a little trade there. It's important to note that I also have 3 denies and he only has 1. So I'm going to hit 6 first. And I could either call for a gank myself or try to help one of the other lanes. I think the Doom runs mid when I'm about to hit 6. I'm pretty sure we both called for it. Like, I said I'm going to hit 6 soon. He's like, okay, I'm going to come middle. Okay. So I was trying to coil him in this creep wave here under the tower. And if I got my coil off, like, literally a quarter of a second before this, I think he just dies to me hitting him with the creeps. But because he gets the Q off, and he can't Q during coil, he disarms me and the creeps, and nukes most of the creeps, and then he can cast Shield Crash during the leash as well. I think he would have died because I would have another orb and the creeps hitting him, and the silence, and he even disarms me again with his first hit, so it's kind of unfortunate. But the plan was for the Doom to come mid with my coil, and I kind of jumped the gun because I saw an opportunity. But yeah, like, it would have been super good because I hit 6 first on him, and that's kind of what your angle is. You either hit 6 first and gank your own lane with somebody rotating, or if they have, like, people in front of the tower bottom, you can go there. Normally it's kind of hard to walk all the way to top. Like, if for whatever reason they're in front of the tower, you can kind of go. But until, like, the 6 or 8 minute rune, with your first coil, I think most of the time it's easier for someone to gank your lane. And but you should always be looking around for, like, freebies. So if they're low bottom in front of the tower, if for whatever reason they'd be low top in front of the tower top, I would go there as well. But it's kind of hard to force these rotations to side lanes before boots and with, like, the 6 minute rune coming up. And it'll be a lot easier later, like, especially with the runes and stuff. There are other matchups you want to think about, and this is not necessarily Puck specific, but, like, almost all the ganking mid heroes. So, like, Timbersaw, before 6, it's nice to kill him so that your carry can stay bottom a little longer. Axe before Vanguard, if he doesn't get it too early. Those type of heroes, like even Centaur, if you play against Centaur, before they have Hood or Vanguard. Like, Timber's the same way, before Hood. It can be, like, pretty easy to kill him really early, but, like, at 8 minutes, it might be too hard to go kill him just with my coil and +1. So, like, there's little, like, power spikes, so to speak, for certain offlaners that you can kind of play around. And you tend to just avoid going bottom after they've hit their kind of spike. Like even Beastmaster with like level 4 boars, if he has enough HP, he's pretty hard to deal with. But if he's still like a level 5 Beastmaster, you delay his game a lot because his timing's like, I don't know if they go Vlad's or Helmdom these days, but if he gets that plus level 7, it's like pretty difficult. Even if you kill him, it's going to take so much of your time. And most of the time you want to be focusing on ganking their carry because he's really weak no matter like what is going on. Even if Urso is like beating this Viper 1v1 and he was level 6 already, he's not really going to kill me with his spells unless I just go AFK. Whereas like a Timbersaw with like a huge lead, they're like an early game hero, so they could actually kill me with their spells if I wait a bit too long, if that makes sense. Most of your focus should be on ganking their carry, or even if they're mid in some match like a Storm. Storm and Pango, Void Spirit, they're all perfect examples of heroes that, you know, if you just have any type of aggressive support, like not Warlock, like maybe even a 5 Grimstroke or something could just come mid with a TP and kill him with my 6. So that's the kind of first play you want to be looking to make. At this point, I'm just farming towards Witchblade and looking for free kills as they come. I'm in the Doom's perspective for some reason. Just taking farm. I'm also trying to pay attention to Pango's rotations at this point. I want to know where Pango's going. I don't want my carry to die. The map is super dark at nighttime. It's very scary. But I don't want to delay my farm. Puck farms really fast these days. You can see, I think my net worth's a little lower than the Pango just from him farming and whatnot. I don't remember what happened after the coil. I went back to base, had to use a TP, just stuff like that. But we're just gonna go even, giving it to bottle fill there. And this is like easy gameplay. Even at like 7 or 8 minutes, you plus the 4 can kill anyone in a coil. And then once you finish Witchblade, it gives you that extra damage for you to pretty much be able to solo kill people instead. You don't always need a hero with you, but it obviously varies from hero to hero. Like, I'm probably not solo killing a Timbersaw with a Witchblade, but either supports or even maybe the Pango. Typically they go Arcane Boots and Diffusal Blade these days, which doesn't give any HP. I think I'd be able to solo kill both those heroes if I get them in a good position. Or at least make it very easy for people to rotate on them with me. So yeah, at this point, just farm. Spam your orb off cooldown, have clarities, grab runes, very simple stuff. And then if a play happens and you have your ult up, you should always be looking. Normally I would TP to this type of thing, but I was already here at the bounty rune. And this hero thrives off low cooldown engagement, so like, if you get 2 orbs off in a fight, you're probably killing their whole team in the early game. And you can like orb, coil, silence, then you'll have your next orb. As long as you don't die. So anytime people are diving or they're just out of position, you can always set up on people. It's a huge strength this year. It's kind of like Storm in a way. Like, Storm can catch people a lot easier solo, but Puck is much more useful in these like bigger skirmishes, if that makes sense, because all my spells are really easy to hit in an AoE. So now my game is incredibly ahead of the Pangos. The Ursa has no game. I just want to finish my core item. Even going to take this good farm up here. I was going to take the lane. Warlock is actually very close to 6, I believe, so I give him the lane instead. And this is also a very good tip on a lot of mid-heroes. If you see what I'm doing here, and I'm going to keep it on 1.5x speed, I'm making Storm very efficient with my mana. So I'm hitting 2 camps at once whenever possible with my orb, even my silence. Because let's say the fight, like I have my spells up again on my TP. Let's say something happens near one of these towers again and I need to TP in. It would actually be really bad for me, aside from just farming faster by doing this. I'm going to use a lot more mana if I'm only farming 1 camp at a time. And I need like 500 mana, or so maybe even 400, because I have bottle and stick, after TPing to get all my spells off, and then I want enough for like a second round of spells too. So having resources to fight is really important, and if you're just really efficient with your spells like this, it makes it really easy. At level 10, I'm typically always getting the orb cooldown talent. In some games, I might favor the 1 extra point in silence first. It really doesn't matter. The orb talent just helps you farm faster, so it just lets me keep doing what I'm doing. And as you can see here, like, I finished my Witchblade and TP'd home because I just spammed all of my spells. Like, you want to minimize the amount of time you don't have resources to fight. So I thought to myself, it's worth it. I'm going to use all my mana on these camps, farm them even faster, and I won't be ready to fight if something happens. But I'll TP home, and then with the orb cooldown and just like shooting myself out of the base, I'll be able to get to the next fight pretty soon anyway. So on my way mid, I got the Witchblade. These like team fighty skirmishes, like this isn't a true team fight, it's too early in the game really for that, but anytime I get like a 2 or 3 man coil, spam my spells, it's just super easy. The Witchblade is also pretty nice slow, like when you don't have your coil. And then from there on, there are some games, like even at the Major, I saw people get Veil, or not Veil, sorry, people used to get Veil. They get, I think Vessel, Toronto Tokyo did once or something. There's like some weird item builds you can go in this year. I've seen some people skip Blink. I think keep it simple. There are games where maybe you'll like have like a 1% chance higher of winning if you go a different build or something like that, but honestly, I think every game, just go Witchblade, Blink, Boots of Travel, and if you're against Skywrath or a bunch of instant silences or Storm with an Orchid, just stop whatever you're doing, buy a Yules. So if you have your Witchblade already, just buy a Yules before Blink. And then, same thing, get the Blink, then the Travels. There are some games where you might get a little more over getting Travels before Blink, and I think I do that in this game, but I don't remember. I have them in my quick buy right now. This game was like a couple days ago or something. I would honestly advise against this. Like, the map is very open right now, and I can recognize where I need to be a little more greedy, or even not necessarily greedy, but where I feel like I don't need the Blink to have the same amount of impact, and I'll get more out of the early Travels and playing this kind of dead lane, or even doing this in the top lane and splitting. It's really, like, not that big of a difference. I'd say, especially if you're a beginner on Puck, just always get the Blink first. And your only goal on this hero is to be able to Blink on the back line. What makes it a good Puck game is if they have heroes that are very squishy in the back, like Enigma and Shadow Shaman. It's pretty annoying to play against the instant Hex, sure, but if you can just Blink silence them, they're dead to your spells and a Witchblade auto-attack the entire game. They have to build Aeon Disc, or Glimmer, or Yules, and even then you can still kill them. It obviously makes the hero a lot better too if they have like a core that relies on mobility, so Storm or Ember. The lane is pretty hard versus Ember, and it's kind of a little Void Spirit favored, some might say. I'm not sure what people are really... Like, it's pretty close. I think it's like a lot more even than the Ember matchup. Storm can go kind of even, but it's a bit Puck favored as well. But obviously, like, the Roots, like the Leash, is very good against those heroes for catching them. And Blink just makes it that much easier to catch them. So I opted for Travels first. Again, I don't recommend doing this unless you're really, really comfortable in Puck. And as you'll see here, only heroes I'm looking for are Shadow Shaman and Enigma, who's already dead. And then maybe if I can coil the Pango before his ult. The one thing that kind of doesn't make Puck that good of a counter versus Pango anymore, so like I talked about in the lane, Pango's Q is really deadly versus Puck, for one, because he has low armor. The other thing is when they have Shard, if you coil them first, they can just roll up an ult anyway until you're 25 talent. So it's like, he's not really my target for the coils most of the time. He can be if his ult is not up yet, or maybe I can coil him into a Doom or something, but then we're using a lot of resources on him. For the most part, all you have to do is coil the supports and kill them. You just coil, like, anytime you see these squishy supports, especially like a Winter Wyvern or Phoenix or something, you can kill them during your silence and coil. It's 100% worth it. A lot of Dota rely, like the cores, like Ursa can't hit anybody that aren't stunned by Enigma or Pango or Shadow Shaman. It's too hard. We have a Viper to kite him around. Razor's really fast. He's melee. Like, those type of heroes, a lot of carries rely on disables to do any damage, so it's kind of like you're killing their carry when you kill their supports first in the early game. Especially before they have Blink, Abyssal Blade, or Scotty, or whatever it is. So luckily in this game, I'm so farmed, I'm going to have Travels and Blink really quickly anyway. And you just want to make sure you keep scaling, keep getting farmed. And you can see here again, I'm just eyeing the Shadow Shaman and the Enigma. I think I missed a coil here. See this Blink. That was pretty slow reaction for me too, but I didn't even realize he had Blink. Getting an Arcane Rune's always nice, especially on a low cooldown hero like this. Just keep farming, keep pushing out waves, spamming all of your spells. It feels really nice with the new nulls too, because you don't really build any mana regen, right? Like I have Witchblade and I have Blink Dagger, and I'm going E-Blade next. I think it's a good time to talk about like where to go next in your item build. For the most part, if they have silences and stuff, Yule's is really good. I think I messed up here because I didn't blink earlier, or I don't remember what happened, but I didn't like this death. But in regards to items, you want Octarine Core like 100% because you get like the Waning Rift cooldown, the Orb cooldown, and it stacks pretty well together. You're kind of playing around your spells now. You used to go Kai'Sange, E-Blade, and Dagon, but you lose the Spell Amp talent this patch versus last patch, and E-Blade is kind of weird because you can't get it with Kai'Sange. So the way I've seen other people play it and the way I've had the most success is generally going Kai'Sange or Kai'Sange and Yule's, but maybe some games. Some games need Aeon Disc, like this game I'll get an Aeon Disc, I'm 99% sure. Just so I can't die instantly, and it just makes it so hard for them to target you. Some games you'll want a Linken's. You definitely just want something that either helps you survive or deal more damage after your Witchblade, because my damage is good enough for the most part. And then after that, your fourth item is almost all... I guess this would be my fifth item if you count travels, but like, third item, Kai'Sange, maybe you want Yule's, you can count them both as like your third item. Your fourth item should be Octarine Core almost always. And it makes you pretty tanky, you spam your spells, you got Waning Rift damage as one of your talents now instead of Spell Amp, so just having cooldown reduction on your spells kind of gives you Spell Amp in a way, if that makes sense. I went E-Blade this game just to help Kite Ursa a bit more. Yule's would have been fine too, but they didn't have any silences like I said. I wouldn't mind getting a Linken's this game, or just Kai'Sange. Obviously, Kai'Sange doesn't help against the Black Hole, but against Rasta spells and Pango ult, it can help a lot. And it's kind of rinse and repeat. Like, if you see people near towers, just like I said when you're level 6 in the early game, they're so easy to kill. Like, this was a pretty tanky Timbersaw. Obviously, I have DD, but if Doom doesn't come, someone else can TP. Since I have travels, they don't have a long TP. And it's pretty much the same rinse and repeat game plan. You're very hard to catch, so you can aggressively split push super, super hard. You can always poke at people. Team fights this patch, especially if you've been watching the Major, have been very poke-centric, so these type of heroes actually perform really well. Like, both Pango and Puck are very good at that sort of gameplay, where you just, like, blink in, poke a little, get out. And, like, even here, look how hard they have to try in order to, like, gank me, and I'm just out. So, like, with Aeon Disc or Linken's, it makes it even harder, or Yule's in certain cases when they have silences to catch you instead. Having that, like, one extra defensive item, or if I had Kai'Sange instead of E-Blade, that'd probably be enough too. I opt to go E-Blade and then Aeon Disc versus the Enigma, and then Octarine Core last this game, I'm pretty sure. Times that... the other question I get a lot on this hero is, when do you go for, like, a right-click build with Shard? And I think, like, I would just not worry about it this patch. Maybe it'll get buffed a bit in the next patch, or changed around a bit. It feels a little weak. There was a time where, like, getting Maelstrom into Gleipnir later was good. Like, PL was quite popular, and, like, you'd have the Dream Coil Rapid Fire with, like, a Gleipnir, and it felt pretty nice together, but... Or even just going a Deso build. But I don't know. It feels really weird when I do that build. I think you don't need the extra right-click damage to kill supports a lot of the time, and that's really your job. And there isn't many heroes that are, like, popular in terms of carry. Like, if I'm against a Medusa, do I really want a Deso? Same with, like, Terrorblade or even CK, it doesn't feel that great against. Whereas just kiting them with spells over and over again, basically, like, almost infinite silences once you have Octarine Core, just feels way, way nicer. So yeah, you can see in my quick buy, And okay, we'll rewind here because this is important. Like, just be very patient on this hero and don't jump in too early, because if I don't see Shadow Shaman, and or like he uses Hex and his Shackles already, so I don't have to worry about his spells. But like, if I don't see Shadow Shaman, I'm just, oh, I'm gonna go coil this Timber Saw. I'm gonna go coil the guy in front. He might just instantly Hex me from Fog and kill me. But the Shadow Shaman is the one who should be patient here as well. He can't really go until I go. It's kind of a mini game, and then if anyone like the Viper's in front, or if we have a tankier hero like Razor in front with BKB and us ready to save, they'll probably give me vision of the Shadow Shaman, or the Shadow Shaman will be forced to go in, if that makes sense, a lot of the time. And I can still poke from far away, look for my spells. My initiation range is honestly a lot farther than his, even with his Aether Lens. And I had a glimpse of their Enigma and their Shadow Shaman here, and I knew that Shadow Shaman spells were still cooldown for a bit. Just easy pick off on Enigma. And if I had vision of the Shadow Shaman, I could even go back in because my cooldowns are so low. And you can just see how easy it is to kill supports on this hero. And how hard and pesky you are to deal on the map. Like, they tried to gank me with 3 heroes, didn't work, even if they got all their spells off. In team fights, if their supports even show for a millisecond, they just get silenced and killed instantly. It makes it very difficult for them to play. All the while, like, I'm the top net worth because I also farm very fast. I have travels, I'm all over the map. Even when I'm farming top here, I can affect the other 2 lanes with my travels. And I'll hit level 25, and with the Dreamcoil Pierce's magic immunity talent, the Pango's just never going to get to roll again. It just freezes his roll in place. He can't do the roll up and then roll anymore. His game kind of just ends at that point. Like, maybe he has to get an Aeon Disc himself. And then, even then, I can just coil him during his roll, and he just won't get to really play around that. He's gonna have to play more so around his, like, a right-click build of some kind, like, just playing off the Q, I think. I'm not sure. I'm not, like, the greatest Pango player, so I'm not really sure what you're supposed to do in that case. Maybe even, like, work towards a Wind Waker or something? I'm not sure. So yeah, this we can also go back a bit too, because this is one of the times where Rasta kind of gets his spells on me. And you can see, like... Sorry, I'm rewinding and fast-forwarding a lot. I'll probably cut this out anyway. But, like, you can see in this spot, I wasn't very patient, and the Shadow Shaman got his spells on me. But, like, look at the positioning here. If I jump up here, and Shadow Shaman's on this high ground, then I'm probably kind of fucked, to be honest. But, like, if I make Shadow Shaman kind of come into me out of position, my other heroes can deal with him as well. So, like, it just makes it so hard for him to play. I can come up and poke the Timber a lot of the time, as long as I don't go completely out of position, balls to the wall, like, in their base. Whereas, like, he can't really poke with his spells on anybody because I'll just instantly kill him. And that's the kind of fear you want to put in the support's hearts when you play this hero. Very similar to playing, like, Void Spirit or Storm, but a lot harder to deal with, in my opinion, as a support. At least with, like, Storm or Void Spirit, like, if you can somehow juke the Void Spirit's ult or something, they have a decent cooldown, and that's his initiation tool. Or, like, Storm. I mean, Null Talismans are pretty ridiculous, but he's at least committing a lot of mana if he jumps pretty far. A lot of the time. Puck, like, is the least committal hero. Even the coil is not that big of a commitment. A lot of the time. It also, like... The other benefit of this hero, it feels so annoying to play against. Like, Pango's actually pretty farm, but I guarantee you he's, like, constantly checking for where I am on the map so that he can farm. Like, if they have a ward on me top, he's probably way more comfortable doing this type of stuff, where... Or, like, maybe he's baiting me now, I'm not sure. Apparently their heroes are smoked. And maybe they were trying to bait me in some way, but... It's, like, impossible for him to jump on top of me. Whereas, like, the opposite is never true. I can always jump on top of him, force his roll. My coil is honestly less important than his roll, so if I go on him when he's alone and force his roll, it's a good trade for me anyway. Whereas, like, I have free roam of the map. I can do whatever I want. Even for heroes like Storm versus Puck that have, like, an Orchid or some type of catch, it feels so annoying to try and catch a Puck where, like... You're playing Storm, if they get their 25 talent, you have BKB, it feels like... It's like the opposite. It feels so annoying for the Storm Like, even if he tries to catch you, if you just coil him, he just doesn't know what to do, right? Ursa kind of steals Roche from us there, but this game is pretty much over. The net worth is even, but I like, and I don't see how, like, the win probability is in their favor at all, to be honest. From my perspective, I feel like I can never die this game with Aeon Disc, and their supports just can't play Dota. And we have 2 scaling supports. We have Doom as our support. Like, he just gets free money, and he turns their computer off with his ulti, and eventually he's going to turn 2 computers off with his ulti. And then Warlock is, like, classically the hardest, like, scaling support in the game, outside of disabling supports. Because, like, stuns are pretty good, obviously, but Warlock just does massive amounts of damage. He has Fatal Bonds, which scales with everyone else's damage. BKB Piercing disable for Enigma with his ulti.
Gold and sweet.
I just don't feel like they ever really have a timing in this game. I think I fortified late. Or no, maybe the Enigma converted the creep. That's what happened there. Plan doesn't really change. Ah, this was cool. Let's see. Look how hard it is for them to deal. Like, they black hole me, Aeon Disc. Shadow Shaman just was like 3 pixels away from getting a spells on me. You're gonna use every single spell. Even if I die, I have buyback. And it just commits so much of their time, all their spells, all their resources. Give them a little E-Blade for the road. And it just doesn't... And they chase a little too far, now all of a sudden we're going on them. In these kind of games, from my perspective, whoever has, like, freer roam of the map, which would be my hero 100% in this case, just gets to, like, decide engagements a lot easier and can stall the game for as long as possible. So even if we were, like, kind of in a losing position, I'd just be able to rat around for so long that eventually, like, something might happen where someone gets caught out of position on their team, or we just sneak a Roche at some point, or we get a lucky kill from someone playing too aggressive and then we get Roche. It just always feels like time is on our side, even if the matchups weren't great. Like, if they had a Medusa on their team or something, and they had the late game carry with Enigma, right? I still wouldn't feel that bad, because eventually they're just going to get pushed out of position, from my perspective, especially in a pub. It just feels so good to have this much mobility and, like, control over the lanes. So yeah, 25, he can't roll, just stuck in place, dies to Razor. Very straightforward from here on out. I think we just close out the game. I get to clown around with the Arcane Rune, which is always fun. Let me rewind real quick to see what the cooldowns were. Like, 4-second cooldown Silence without Octarine finished yet. 4-second cooldown Orb. This poor Enigma is just forced to TP back out of his own base. Ursa just gets kited during his ulti and BKB again. Coiled. I think they get away here, which is unfortunate, but their base doesn't get away. It couldn't run. Very, very straightforward from here on out. Always scaling. A 360 CS, 10 kills. I think this game I was like, okay, I'll just try Revenant's Brooch or something. I'll have some fun. I'd only really consider this item upgrade if you have nothing better to upgrade, or if they have a lot of Ghost Scepters or a Pugna. Because it's really not that great for Puck. I think getting Overwhelming Blink would have been much, much better. But this is the fun item. I have all my good items already. I felt like we could never lose this game. I wonder what the graphs is now even. Like, only 64%. This is just one of those times where I just don't agree with the graph at all. I just don't see how they can win. Again, the other thing you can do in more scary situations, so, like, there could be a Shadow Shaman waiting in the trees with Pango or something, and, like, their whole team waiting for me to go again. You can orb from very far away, especially the Octarine Core. And the cooldown's so low, you're going to get the full creep wave most of the time anyway. So again, I focused the Shadow Shaman there. I'm pretty sure he dies. Pango started the fight coiled. He's going to waste like half his roll just trying to find people. Put a lot of pressure on them just being disruptive and causing chaos. Almost perma-silencing the Pango. And the other thing about having these cooldown reduction items, my TP cooldown is only 27 seconds. It's like ridiculous. I can just use it whenever I want, on whoever I want, as much as I want. And there's just nothing they can really do. This might have been a game as well where Refresher could have been really nice over, like, even just getting rid of the Witchblade after Overwhelming Blink for Refresher. Having 2 of the coils that go through BKB would have probably been pretty nice for Pengo. Being able to refresh Aeon Disc mid-fight. Then yeah. As you can see, like, I barely touched this Timber or the Ursa at all this game. I'm really just hunting supports. Or the Pango in some cases. And my team will clean up the rest. And there's some more fun. Just getting perma silence. Now that I have Octarine, I'm pretty sure, yeah. 4.25 second silence, 3 second cooldown. It's just fun stuff. Cooldown reduction can be extremely ridiculous. But yeah, that about wraps up this game. If you guys have any questions, you know, leave them in the comments. If there's any other heroes you want me to do videos on, leave them in the comments. Subscribe to the channel, you know, all that good stuff. Good luck in your puck games if you decide to play the hero. Yeah, GG's.